speaking of shows that we have faith in, or showrunners we have faith in, Nancy, we're still on this journey. We're in season 3. I'm really glad that we watched the 5th and 6th episode together, because once again, it definitely much feels like a pair. But to launch into episode 5, I feel like my favorite part was the George and dad situation. Her dad situation, I feel like she needed to be able to finally confront the man that, abandoned her. I did not realize he abandoned her so early. I think she had said that her mom was a teen mom, but I don't know. I assumed that he'd been around more.
I honestly had never put much thought into that.
Oh, really?
So I kind of like that they brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I only realized when they brought it up in this episode. I don't know if we actually mentioned that last week in a review about it. So that last week, the 2 episodes we watched last week had so much going on, and I remember George was struggling over that, over the friend request and whatever. So it was nice to finally get. It felt like Nancy season 3 is doing something very interesting, and it feels like each day spills into the next episode because like they're all so conjoined, and this just picked up where the last one left off, and I'm glad. They took some fun liberties in having George wait and watch and then have that conversation with Nick about how she always wanted a good dentist growing up. But like it did what it needed to do. It was quite powerful in the end, and considering none of us really saw the storyline coming, I was very happy with how they ultimately did it. It was nice to see that side of George that wanted more out of life, because she's been dealt an awful lot of tough blows throughout her life, and to finally see her confront that, especially with the like specter of the fact that she could die in 10 years. It's nice to see her maybe more confronting her past as much as she's trying to confront her future, if that makes sense.
I've also been so conditioned by shows like Riverdale or like soap operas that whenever a new character comes on and I'm kind of like, what are you up to? It's like the whole time I was like, is there something more to her dad? Like he seems nice enough, but I was kind of like, are you secretly dark? And then I forgot the show doesn't really do that. I don't know, maybe they won't go in that direction. I don't think they will, but I just realized while watching, I was like, oh, okay, this is not Dynasty. Every new character doesn't have a hidden agenda.
Remember in season 1 when Owen showed up, we were like, there's darkness to him. And no,
constantly I'm like, I'm like, alarm, 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 who are you? Danger, stranger danger.
I did think he was going to be around a little bit longer because he was in The Flash. So anytime I see a CW character, I'm like, oh, you were Ryan Choi in the Arrowverse universe, so perhaps you'll be around longer. But that don't think that's going to end up being the case. His character really is just there for George to be able to confront him. What I did like though, and it's something that Nancy Drew does a lot, which is the people who hurt you, not everybody's a monster. Not everybody has not everybody has this tragic backstory that they have to explain to you that gives reason for why they left you. He was a selfish teenage boy, and he did not correct the choice that he made. And he went on to be a dentist that's well respected and people think is kind. There's a dentist out there who's well respected and really kind who left a child in another state, and you would never know about it. I mean, that is just how we work as humans. We can be really great to the people that we're around and really awful to people we either left behind or that we don't see has enough significance in our life. And that's just the way it is. So I like that they were like, no, he's not evil. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, there's no tragic backstory. He was just selfish.
Yeah.
And that's just who he is. And now she's confronted it and she can move on.
And the fact is, I think it was really effective that George said, well, I was also in a similar position as you at one point, but I decided to stay. And I think that was when the purpose of this storyline came into the forefront for me, because I was like, okay, we know who George is. We've always known who George is, but I think she needed that moment to tell him that, because she was so annoyed about the fact that she had this friend request, even though she thought about this man before. She did reveal that it wasn't that much of a shock that he was out there because she knew of his existence, but she was shocked that he knew so much about her, but he didn't really know her. And I think this scene was important because she wanted to tell him who she was, and the fact that they had a similar experience, but that she did the right thing and she stayed with her family. It doesn't matter if you're a good person now. George was always a good person because she did the right thing, and I thought that was really, really powerful for George, because she puts up these walls, but she has such a good heart, and I don't know if we always the show doesn't always show that to us at the forefront, and this episode really did that, and I thought that was really important.
A lot of what these kids, the Drew crew, have to unpack and unravel is choices that were made on their behalf and how it impacts them in the future, and kind of reconciling, like we see it with Nancy, like choices were made for her life from the day that she was born. Even with Ace, like his father made a choice to hide that he had another son, or maybe he didn't know about the son, I don't remember, but like choices have all been made that they're learning about or like confronting as adults, and they have to reconcile with, like, okay, this made me feel this way, you're responsible for that, maybe you're not so bad now, but like it's causing me some pain now. And I think a lot of us can confront that in our lives, which isn't it crazy that a show about ghosts and the supernatural stuff can get so real?
Yeah.
I know. I mean, and I think that's what makes Nancy so great, is that it feels so very realistic. Like, yeah, there's like a ghost terrorizing something, or there's a heart-stealing supernatural being doing evil things in town. But at the same time, we can do both, right? We can do George and George Sr.'s storyline, and we can juxtapose it with Ace and his dad. His dad didn't know that he had a son, but he's still hiding it from his wife. So that's still affecting Ace. And I love his dad. I did not love his dad in that moment, where like Ace is right. Like you can't like. And I'm scared for his mom, because he mentioned that she has like a heart thing, and I was like, how bad is the heart thing that your dad doesn't want to just tell her, I found out I have a son. I didn't know at the time, but I found out that I have a son. But that whole situation where we're signing and we're mad, and finally he just speaks to say, like, stop talking. She does need to know. Like, she does need to know, though. Like, you
Did
need
it
to tell
hurt?
your
Did his
wife.
dad keep the whole relationship a secret? Because it seems like no one really knew that relationship was a thing, or at least Ace didn't.
It
And
feels
it's
like
not,
it.
I guess it's not Ace's business to know what his dad was up to before he was born, but like if that person was that important to you, you would think it would come up, or like at least Ace's mom would have known.
And like Ace's dad had done nothing wrong until he found out that he had a son, and then chose not to share that with his wife. And I know he maybe was doing that to protect his son and keep him out of, because his son was in danger, we know that, and keep him out of harm's way. But like the fact, I had a hard time reconciling that with my love for Ace's dad on that scene, because when he kind of just exploded, and then he still would not tell his wife, even though his wife knew. And I kind of wanted a bit more from that, because in the next episode it's kind of forgotten about. So where are they on that? Can he just say, like, no, we're not going to talk about that, and they can carry on as normal? Or is it not up to her to get angry about it and say, why did you lie to me? Like, it felt like the ball was in her court and the show didn't give it to her, if that makes sense.
Can we fast forward to episode 6 with the Ace storyline, because it's so like connected? When at the end of episode 6, when he and his dad are talking, his dad is like, your mom would like you to come home, and Ace is like, no. And as heartbreaking as that was, it was kind of like, okay, good for you, Ace, for setting a boundary, because you're not running back to the place where you were abandoned a little bit when you needed support. I don't know. I was like, yeah, that seems like the right decision for Ace to be like, no, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna keep kicking it on my own for a minute.